Good morning, Ultimate Coach Facebook group family. It's Tuesday. Hope everybody's having a wonderful morning. Have an interesting little topic to chat about today. This one is about cleaning up our messes. And specifically, it's about me cleaning up one of my messes. So grab some coffee and let's see where we go. So as I said, we're going to talk about, I'm going to talk about cleaning up a mess of mine. And when I talk about cleaning up a mess, it's not always that dramatic. For me, it really is about revisiting a place where I was out of integrity and going back and cleaning it up. And integrity, or I should say being out of integrity, isn't always about being dishonest or not telling the truth. Sometimes being out of integrity is as simple as not living in alignment with our stated principles, which for me is really important. My intention in life, my primary intention, is to live from a being that comes from love, that comes from care, that is an acceptance of how things are. And yet I've got a lot of years under my belt where another beingness had a lot of airtime, let's just say, and created a lot of powerful results. So for a lot of my life, I created from a being that I would characterize as being right, being superior, needing to look good. So while my intention now is to always come from a place of love, come from a place of service, I'm always finding aspects of, let's just call it my legacy being, that still stick around. So for you just joining, we're, hey, what's up, Karan? Pretty exciting, the 7 marathons on 7 continents. I saw that. That's pretty badass, brother. Talking about cleaning up a mess. This all was sparked from my visit with Steve last week. I was in Phoenix last week. Had an incredible session. And hey, Lori, good morning. And I don't know where this came up, but in the last few minutes of the session, Steve said, hey, is there anything else that's on your mind? Anything else you wanted to talk about? And I shared with him, hey, Gabby, hola. I shared with him that there was a situation that has been bouncing around my head with somebody that was part of my community, and it's been going on for several months. Nothing's been going on, but it's been in my head, and I've been thinking about it every day. And he said, well, tell me what's up. Oh, I guess who's coming over? Jax is coming over, seeing if he can join the party. Come on, that's fine. Come on. They'll love to see you. Everybody loves you. Don't worry about it. Let me take off your little donut here. There we go. Jax is in the house. So if we're going to talk about cleaning up messes, I got Jax with me as my comfort animal. Anyway, so I shared the situation. Yep, Lori's saying hi, Jax. And what he asked me was, if you were just speaking straight to him, what would you say? And I, let it all hang out. And one of the many things that makes Steve an incredible coach is what followed was, hey, Fiona. What followed was not a lecture or a set of principles or, any advice giving. It was simply an invitation. He said, can I share something with you? Can I share a story about me? And often Steve will share stories of clients without their name, but a situation, or stories of himself. But this was about himself. And it might not have taken 45 or 50 seconds into the story before I was like, holy shit, I see what's going on. So let me back into this a little bit, and I'll let you know what I saw, and you can take from it what is relevant for you. The topic, if you guys are just joining, is I'm sharing a situation of cleaning up a mess of mine. And when I talk about a mess, I just simply mean a place in my life where I wasn't living in integrity with my principles, right? It's my intention to live a life where I come from a being of love, of care, of service. And, I've got a lifetime of beingness that, well, let's just say doesn't come from those places. And those worked for me for a lot of years. So it's not like I'm done with them. I'd love to be done with them. And we'll talk about this idea of doneness in a minute. But the long story short is, back in December, an individual that's part of my community and I had a conversation. I didn't think much of it. It was just a conversation in my mind. And it wasn't until probably February when he and I reconnected, and we hadn't had a chance to reconnect, and I hadn't shown up for me that there was any sort of avoidance or problem. But we got on the call together, and after a few moments, he said I wanted to clear the air. He said he wanted to clear the air, and he shared with me, hello, Anita. He shared with me, hey, Mr. Hardison, I'm sharing the little story of the mess I cleaned up after our conversation last Thursday. And back in February, he shared with me, hey, that last conversation really upset me, really hurt me. It was really hurtful to me. And proceeded to share with me what about the conversation was hurtful to him. And essentially, my response was, and I'm sure I said it a lot more eloquently or nicely, and by that I mean to make myself look good, but essentially my response was, I respect your point of view from who you're being, but go fuck yourself. That's not what I meant. I didn't say go fuck yourself. I was very nice and subtle about it, of course. But that's essentially what I said. And, that was that. And they never spoke again, was really the ending to that story. And from this idea, well, that's what he saw from who he's being. That's a pretty good story, right? That works. He saw what he saw, nothing I can do about it. Until last Thursday, sitting with Steve, and at the end of our session, he asked, is there anything else you want to talk about or bring up? Hey, Eric, you just popped into my mind this morning. We gotta find some time to connect, brother. So it's been in my mind. I don't like having a rift with somebody. I don't like somebody out there telling the world or thinking ill of me that I'm a jerk. Hey, Eric, what's up, Mr. Love Home? And it just wasn't sitting well with me. This is somebody I had a lot of care for, and now for it just to be done was really sad. At least showed up sad for me. So I shared with Steve what was going on, what I would say to him if I could just speak my mind, and not surprisingly, it was a statement full of judgment and where he needed to get his act together and stop being a whiny little baby about it. And all Steve did was share a story of his own, where essentially he saw something some way and then he saw it a different way. And I was like, oh my God, it was like a lightning bolt hit me in the office. What I saw was, in that very moment, I made a choice. Now I'm talking about back in February when we talked, the second time when my friend shared with me that my actions were hurtful to him. I made a choice to be a couple of things other than being love and being service. I chose being right. I chose being superior. I chose looking good. And since that day, I had defended those as the right choices based on the evidence, based on what happened, based on whole sorts of things. And what the story, what Steve's story helped me see about my story is there's the story of what happened, but then there's the context of the being that the story even lives within. So this idea that I was, for lack of a better term, justified in my actions. I made the right choice. I handled it right. Well, that only exists within the story. These things are more important than love, right? Being right, being superior, getting it right, looking good, all the things that have served me for so many years. And just the noticing of, wow, I didn't choose love. Because if I chose love, well, what would I have done? As soon as this person came to me and said I was hurt, you hurt me, you tried to manipulate me, you tried to use me, whatever he said, well, coming from love, it wouldn't have mattered how I looked. I would have said, I'm sorry. Whatever I did, let me look at what I did. I apologize for that. That's more important, being love. Being right, it's more important for him to know I didn't do it that way. You were listening wrong, right? That's more important, but only from who I was being. So I got to see once again in yet another area of my life where this beingness of being right, being superior, being looking good, still hanging around a little bit. Well, for those of you that are curious, I sent him a text very shortly after I left Steve's office, actually, while I was in the Lyft ride, saying, hey, do you have 5 minutes, to the gentleman that I was out of sorts with. I said, do you have 5 minutes? I'd love to clean up a mess with you. I also sent a text to a friend of his who's also part of the group who I was also sideways with, because I said, hey, I need to clean something up with you too. He graciously agreed to chat. We got on the phone about an hour later, and it was hey, Steve, good morning. And it was very simple. I said, listen, thank you for taking my call. First thing I want to acknowledge is it's taken me a long time to get here. The second thing I want to acknowledge and apologize for is the fact that the last time we talked, I was needing to be right, needing to look good, needing to be superior, and wasn't willing to look at my behavior. And looking at my behavior now from the being that I choose to be, which is love matters more than anything, service matters more than anything, what I see very clearly is our conversation back in December. I was unkind. I was manipulative. I said a couple other adjectives I can't remember. I want to apologize to you for that. I want to apologize to your family for that. And it wasn't like I'm apologizing for what you felt based on what you heard, right? No, it was generally, I said those things. You heard them that way. That's how they were. I'm responsible for the listening I'm speaking into. It's not like I can fold my arms. I mean, I can. I did that for a bunch of months and go, well, I guess if their listening wasn't in the right place, that ain't my problem, right? I can certainly be that way, but the only being that is going to be that way is the being that needs to be right, being that needs to be looking good, being that needs to be superior, all these lovely little things. So cleaned up the mess. And one of the really, really incredible things about this was after I had cleaned up my mess and I said, I want to apologize to you, and that's sincere. And he said, we're good. I forgive you. Well, what came out of his mouth was an acknowledgement for his role, right? Not that I was looking for this, but like what he was able to share and see about, he just took my words a certain way, right? And I've been doing this a while, so it maybe shouldn't be a surprise, but it is. The clearing that is created from being love and letting go of being right is so powerful for both sides, right? We stand over here with our arms folded, or at least I was, saying, well, until he's willing to see this, what he did in it, I'm not willing to, take any ownership. Well, that approach, that being would have brought us both to the ends of our lives filled with regret that we never spoke again. The minute I got cleaned up with my mess, I cleared what was there for me, he got to see something. And it wasn't like I was looking for it. I would have been complete with, he acknowledges my apology, and that's all that matters. But it turned out an incredible gift for him to see something that he saw, and that was about him. It had nothing to do with me. It wasn't like, oh, good, you apologize too. That's not what I'm saying. So it was really powerful. One of the meta effects of this was a real reminder for me about the never done nature of creating ourselves, creating who we're being, over and on top of, the being that got us to where we are today, right? To where we even started to think about being. One of the things you'll hear Steve talk about is being ain't new. Being isn't, being love instead of being right. Exactly. This idea of being isn't new. We're always being. We've always been being. We just are largely unconscious to the being that's creating our life. In a lot of the work that I do with folks, I'm really trying to get across to them that declaring who we're being with a declaration and other techniques there might be, well, that will create an intentional way of being in the moment, but it's not like you're clearing the slate of all the being that has been there most of your lives. I'm 53. Most of my life I created with superiority, with being right, with looking good, and it worked for me. It created a lot of powerful results. It also took a lot. So yes, even I get stuck in the trap of, I should be done with this. I should have this licked by now. I should have it taken care of. I should be all through with the need to be right. And I never will be. I never will be. I just finished reading Speaking Being, which is the book that's a transcription of the Landmark Forum, done by Werner. He's the one delivering the forum, and it's a book about Werner and Heidegger. Really fascinating read if you've been through the forum. It's a wonderful way to experience it again. But Werner talks a lot about this idea that we're in a maze, we're in a trap, and part of the function of the trap is trying to escape the trap. Thinking you've escaped the trap is the trap, right? It's using you for what it wants, it being our identity. This idea that I'll ever escape, ever be done with being right, looking good, acting superior, being superior, that I'll ever finish that and kind of, do one of these, that's the trap. The idea that I've gonna get away from it is the trap. It is only in these are my words, not Werner's, but the surrender to the inevitability of, I will always to some extent seek to be right, be superior, let me look good. I'll always be those things. They'll always show up. It is the acknowledgement. He doesn't like the word surrender. I call it surrender, but the acknowledgement and awareness to it that allows us to be something else. I can only be love to the extent I notice all the places I'm being control, being superior, being look good, being right in that moment. And the next moment I got to do it again. It's not like I get a whole lot of momentum out of the thing. So I was like, maybe I need to tattoo, being right, being superior, being looking good on my arm or something like that. I don't know. But that's sort of the meta thought for today, right? We're never done. I'm never done. I'll never be done. I'll never stop catching myself going, oh, there was being superior again. Let me clean that up. Oh, there was being right again. Let me clean that up. So, hope that's interesting for all y'all. If you got any questions, hit me up. And do some noticing yourself. Where are you being other than which you intend to be? Because it's in those places of noticing what I would call the default or the legacy being. Thank you, Anita. It's in noticing that we create the freedom in the moment to be who we truly want to be. Exactly, Steve. We're never done. It's never done. Always scratching the surface. Have an amazing day, y'all.